Which dead celebrities are treated like saints, but were truly awful people when they were alive? Ray Charles. Made children all over the place and refused to acknowledge them. Jerry Lewis. He treated his family like shit, cut his kids out of his will and was a real boss on set. Watch some clips on YouTube of him and his behavior. Terrible. Most likely stemming from when he and Dean Martin split from being Martin and Lewis. Everyone thought Dean would disappear and Jerry would go on to be a massive star. As it turned out, it was the complete reverse. He was a bitter, bitter person. Alfred Hitchcock was really terrible. Johnny Carson. He cheated on his wives and was an all-around prick when he wasn't on camera. The most widely known example was him telling Joan Rivers that she'd never become the star of The Tonight Show. She was the permanent guest host at the time, then refusing to ever speak to her again after she got a job elsewhere. Jimmy Savile. Until after he died and everything came out about the bad stuff he did. Big pun. His kids and widow fucking hated him. He pistol whipped his wife in front of his children and broke her face. By some Stones fans, Brian Jones. He deserves to be honored for his role in the band, and for his musical contributions, and it's a shame how his life ended, but he also had a history of domestic violence. Pablo Picasso. James Brown. Yikes. Reading all these things. Is there anyone who wasn't the worst? P.T. Barnum. All cause of The Greatest Showman. Skeptical smiley face. Didn't U.S. Senator Ted Kennedy once kill his assistant while driving? Frank Lloyd Wright. He is seen as a visionary in architecture, but he was a horrible person IRL. Raging narcissist. Abandoned his wife and kids to run off with the wife of one of his clients. Nailed down his selected furniture in a client's home because he didn't like what the client wanted, etc. Alfred Hitchcock. Frank Sinatra. My grandpa's girlfriend and her husband used to work for him, and he was a right bastard. Didn't think that he had to pay people that worked for him. Treated employees bad. All the usual human stuff. Edit. My grandpa was a widower and his girlfriend was a widow. Kandinsky. Fled Germany and let his artist girlfriend stay and hid his and other greats' art so they couldn't be found and destroyed by the Nazis. She was an artist herself and was in danger, as well as would have been killed if the artwork she was hiding were found. He hid in Denmark and instead of returning to her he had forgotten he had a girlfriend, who risked her life, and got married to someone else. To make things worse, he decided to steal his ex's style of abstract painting and this is where his work started to get recognition. Edit. Wow. Did he think this would get so much interest? It was Gabrielle Munter he left. My source is an academic and gallery director who worked in the gallery I also worked in, mainly Impressionists, Courtauld. How soon until Woody Allen dies? Can we just include people who are really old and long past their sell-by date? Since no one mentioned them yet. Simone de Beauvoir and Jean-Paul Sartre. In her letters de Beauvoir mentions several romantic and sexual relationships with female students of hers. In one case she met a 17-year-old student who she had a relationship, and later introduced her to Sartre who also began to have sex with her. There were a few others who basically made up Sartre's personal harem, while de Beauvoir acted as the pimp, seducing teenage girls into threesomes with Sartre. Additionally, both were signatories of a petition to remove the age of consent laws in France. The petition was written by a known pedo, Gabriel Matzneff, and signed by other French intellectuals including Foucault, who himself has been accused of sodomizing boys. Pablo Picasso was an abusive, raging narcissist who sucked the life out of people around him. His muses were generally young women he'd domineer and destroy. Frank Lloyd Wright abandoned his wife and children to take a mistress, who was herself already married. He drove his butler insane, and the guy ended up killing Wright's mistress and her kids, burned down his studio, and committed suicide by drinking acid. Wright wasn't there at the time. Wright's response to this was to rebuild the studio exactly as it was before, supposedly, to honor his mistress and their children, but it was pretty obvious to people at the time that he just wanted to protect his legacy as an architect, as many of his most famous innovations were showcased in the design. Sure enough, it became the museum to his work and is still visited today. Lou Reed. I love the Velvet Underground but many of the band members were awful. I've worked for Prince and it's a not-so-hidden secret he was absolutely awful to work with. There used to be a saying, "You're nobody in this industry until you've been fired by Prince." He's a legend for sure but was awful to those who put the show on, and his ego was out of control. And when it came down to it, he died from an OD. So for someone who was so quick to fire anyone over a simple mistake and he's so critical of weakness, it turns out he had some hidden weaknesses of his own. Also, from all accounts Jim Morrison was an awful person. Salvador Dali was a fascist that beat women. Patton and MacArthur were pretty shit people too. I haven't seen Michael Landon's name come up yet. He did amazing on Little House on the Prairie, but apparently he was actually a raging alcoholic and even his own kids made a documentary about the father I knew. Paul Allen. Anyone that has a "not allowed to look at me" policy in place for his own arena staff is kind of a dick at it. Didn't expect this to blow up at all. Alexander Hamilton. He's not dead, but didn't George Lopez cheat on his wife that gave him a kidney by hooking up with some prostitutes? About 60% of them all. Most people don't get to the top by being nice, but there are exceptions. Wow, I have learned so much from this comment section. Ron L. Hubbard, the founder of Scientology. He was a science fiction writer who turned his writings into a cult that has ruined thousands of lives, and it somehow still manages to be a multi-billion-dollar organization that bullied the IRS into achieving tax-exempt status and has a strange hold on all of its members, using celebrities like Tom Cruise and others to maintain a semblance of legitimacy. Kirk Douglas. It's an open secret in Hollywood that he raped Natalie Wood. Thomas Edison. Literally one of the biggest pieces of shit. Stole patents, stomped out competitors with physical force and violence, electrocuted an elephant to mislead the public his inferior power grid was less dangerous than Nikola Tesla's, and a lot more. Sonny Bono. Massive prick before he passed. Used to hang out and play Sega at his house with his kid. Dr. Seuss had an affair for years while his wife battled cancer. Drove her to suicide. Married the woman he'd been having the affair with a couple months later. It's probably come up time and again, but John Lennon was not a nice man. His son grew to despise him enough to tell Paul McCartney that he wished Paul was his father. Probably Xxxtentacion. Elvis. He was with Priscilla when she was 15. I think it's probably safe to assume they were having sex. Maradona. I love my football, but goodness, he was a terrible person. Wasn't John Lennon an abusive husband? Edit. This thread is a fucking rollercoaster of emotions. Here's a few in song form. The Chaser. Eulogy song. https://u2.be/ftxconlig closing parenthesis. Xxxtentacion was a piece of shit. Steve Jobs was an asshole to his family. His own kids hated him. His wife only stayed for the money. He also was known for throwing work colleagues under the bus to cover his own ass, and taking credit for things he didn't invent. Edit. Thanks to everyone for the awards. Wasn't expecting this to blow up like it did. Thank you all. Thomas fucking Edison. I hate saying it because outside of this incident he actually seemed like a good guy. But on 2 occasions, Paul Walker dated 16-year-old girls. Once when he was 28, and again when he was 32. This was all while he had a young daughter of his own. The age of consent in California is 18, meaning if he did anything sexual with them, he could have been charged and indicted on statutory rape. I guess being a predator is okay, though, if you're really good looking. I am from the future and Chris Brown belongs to this list too now. Coco Chanel, revered fashion icon and also Nazi sympathizer. Ellen DeGeneres too early sorry. Stay away from anyone who worships Sid Vicious because allegedly killed his groupie girlfriend Nancy under drug influence, known for being abusive and violent for no apparent reason, had several assault charges filed against him, strangled a cat to death with his belt. Couldn't actually play bass but was recruited in the band for his violent nature, full-blown heroin addict, all this. Brushed under the name of being punk. His fans defend him saying his mom supplied him drugs since an early age or Nancy was a bitch or he had a shitty childhood. Which is fine. But what is your excuse for idolizing this horrible person? He couldn't even play, and #X200B. Edit. Here's a jury transcript of the testimonies of police officers after Nancy's murder where Sid confesses to stabbing Nancy and also admitting he cleaned the murder weapon after discovering her body in the morning. You know, if anyone's interested. http://www.thesmokinggun.com/documents/sid-vicious-grand-jury-transcript-785432 closing parenthesis. I hear that Adolf Hitler guy is a bit of a douche. Jimmy Savile. Absolute monster. His celebrity as an English radio and TV personality gained him unrestricted access to hospitals with disabled children whom he abused. That's putting his life very lightly. Beware if you go on to read more about him. 1. Stanley Kubrick. Although the way he treated Shelley Duvall during the production of The Shining is widely known, people who think there's nothing more to cinema than what Kubrick did tend to brush it off when they talk about him. He was well known for treating his actors like shit, but he has been glorified. The glorification is understandable though not justified, to a point where his shortcomings are completely eclipsed by his popular persona of a mad genius. 2. Alejandro Jodorowsky is a despicable human being. The guy had literally boasted, on record, of raping an actress during filming of El Topo. For reasons I don't understand, art film bros love to glorify that pos. It's high time we stop glorifying hollow and meaningless mental masturbation disguised as deep, cryptic and mystic shit. Xxxtentacion beat his pregnant wife as well as a gay man while he was in jail. John Lennon was a drug addict, a pathological liar, a woman beater, and he abandoned his family. He did all this while singing about peace and love, which makes him a hypocrite to boot. John Wayne. White supremacist, homophobic, sexist and just straight a horrible person. With a lot of blacks, there's quite a bit of resentment along with their descent, and possibly rightfully so. But we can't all of a sudden get down on our knees and turn everything over to the leadership of the blacks. I believe in white supremacy until the blacks are educated to a point of responsibility. I don't feel we did wrong in taking this great country away from the Indians. Our so-called stealing of this country from them was just a matter of survival. There were great numbers of people who needed new land, and the Indians were selfishly trying to keep it for themselves. John Wayne 1971 Source. https://en.m.wikipedia.org/wiki/John_Wayne. Thomas Edison is literally the fucking worst. Look that shit up, he stole patents. Fucked a lot of people out of ideas. Yet he is taught about like he's the father of the new age and they electricity. The lady who started the Komen cure for breast cancer scam. Bing Crosby. Father of the century. Physically and mentally abusive to all his kids, alcoholic, adulterer, slimy businessman. Check it out. Elvis Presley. He groomed and abused his wife for years and was a cheater, drug addict. From what I'm getting from this thread, the three-headed hydra from hell of shitty people are Gandhi, Lennon, and Mother Teresa lol. Didn't Thomas Edison electrocute an elephant once? Marlon Brando. He basically raped Maria Schneider on the set of Last Tango in Paris. https://www.vox.com/2018/11/26/18/Bernardo-Bertolucci-Maria-Schneider-Last-Tango-in-Paris https://www.google.com/amp/s/www.mercurynews.com/2016/12/05/-tango-in-paris-director-admitted-marlon-brando-committed-rape-on-camera/amp/. Any musician famous in TBE 70s or 80s was practically guaranteed to be a pedophile, predator. I love the music of a lot of very gross people. DMX. My dad was a Yonkers, New York cop for 35 years. Arrested X on 4 different occasions in South Yonkers in the mid to late 90s for running pit bullfight rings. My dad hated him, only because he was so cruel to animals. They had to on a couple of occasions euthanize the dogs on the spot. Many times dogs were found half dead from fights. Or the dogs would attack the cops making the arrests. My dad always said that it was super odd because on one hand you had this guy that was constantly caught with cocaine running these rings, but on the other hand my dad always said he was very nice to cops, never resisted, very polite, never angry over being caught. I was shocked when X died, at how many people didn't know about all of the animal abuse he orchestrated. Gandhi lol. Is Chris Brown dead yet? Kirk Douglas the man was not a nice guy. Steve Jobs was a little entitled prick growing up. He had the fortune of great adoptive parents, and when he was bullied, he threatened to drop out of school unless his parents sold their house and moved to a place they really couldn't afford. They did it. He also pulled this, "I'm going to drop out" move when he wanted to attend the most expensive liberal arts school, Reed College, yet living down the street from Stanford, only to drop out. He took credit for Woz's design for a contest at Atari and then lied about the prize money and shorted Woz. He then fucked off when he felt like it in between stints at Atari. Apparently they used to joke about what a shit employee he was and dramatically underqualified for the position he bullshitted his way into. The overarching theme seems to be Jobs inflicted his will on you at the expense of your guilt. It wasn't until that fucker STFU and started listening to others that he decided to turn an iPod into a phone. Get off the dick of PPC and stop making $8,000 machines that public education couldn't afford. He was even a cunt to the mother of his children, but lo and behold he's the good guy because he named a product after his daughter? Fuck that guy. While he demanded excellence of everyone else, he didn't seem to learn anything on his spiritual conquests to demand it of himself. If anything, he became more of a manipulator. I feel like Crosby is as good as dead and would have been beatified if he had died before he got caught. My mother, who was a young adult during Bing Crosby's peak, said that he was a horrible husband and father. A serial philanderer and violent. Bing Crosby. Years ago, while watching Blue Skies with him and Fred Astaire, my dad gushed over Astaire's legacy. I asked what Bing was like and he said, besides beating his wife and kids. What a voice. Can't watch anything with him in it now. He was a monster to anyone close to him. Thanks for watching. See you later.